Third part of our series begins the Napoleonic Wars. Now, it's labeled Part 1 because there are a lot of wars that he was involved. These are going to be the wars before he was emperor. Like that time, he picked up the flag with a bloody face and charged across the bridge as the spear. Now, Napoleon advanced quickly in the French military ranks, not just because he was a genius, he actually clashed quite a bit with those above him who had stuck to the old ways, but because of the French Revolution. French Revolution spawned a huge amount of wars as the other European royals attempted to restore the Bourbon family of Louis, as well as the terror afterward, where under the law of suspects many people were guillotined. So many people were killed that there was ton of room for advancement. By age 26, he was commander and head of the police and secret service for Paris, which put him in an incredibly powerful position. His first military campaign as a general against Austria, Habsburgs family, one of the ancient ruling dynasties of Europe. However, he chose to make Italy the battleground. Now, Italy at this point in time was not one unified country. As the map shows here of this campaign, you see a lot of these small city-states that were small kingdoms. Venice, for instance, was one of the kingdoms that he took over and conquered. Now, he'll never get all the way down to Rome. What we're talking about in this campaign is northern Italy. Why? Well, part strategy, part looting, partly against the Pope, who he hated, and partly to be like Julius Caesar. And the looting in Italy was good. The Directory, the ruling five of France, determined that they needed to make money. And so this campaign is mostly for France to make money to restore the economy after terror had destroyed it. Throughout the Italian campaign, the armies of Napoleon will steal priceless artifacts. Raphael, Michelangelo works all made their way to France, and many are still in the Louvre from this time. They literally stole statues, like this one called the Bible, which was originally part of the papal collection, but still resides in France because of the difficulty of moving it today. Yet back then, they decided to steal this in order to make money for this war. He is wildly successful in Italy, winning almost every single battle, and a legend grows about him as a successful, capable, invincible general. In fact, he becomes a public hero to the point that the Directory, the ruling five of France, are a little bit scared about how popular he is. They realize their job might be endangered by his popularity. So, he needs a new job, and they want to set him up for failure. They give him the task of invading and destroying their ancient enemy, England. They even publish it and report his promotion and his task of the army of England, which is the way France called their armies. Napoleon spends 2 years. He even designs a new gunship that will be able to put artillery on quick moving vessels to cross the English Channel. However, he never feels confident. He believes that this is the job of a gambler, somebody who has nothing to lose, someone who can throw it at and maybe they get lucky. He's not a gambler. He's a hero. His hero is based on the fact that he is invincible and a winning general. He sees the task of conquering England as something he's going to lose. He spends a long time lobbying and finally convinces the Directory to send him to Egypt first. For the Directory, this was excellent. He'd be way far away from the country, and if he lost, his popularity would decline. For Napoleon, however, it was a chance to build upon his legacy, successfully win and conquer a major historical country like Egypt, and maybe even march all the way to India like Alexander the Great did. See, the way he sold it correctly was that the only way to conquer England was to conquer India, the crown jewel of their colonies, and Egypt was a stepping point towards that. In fact, in 1797, he says the time is not far distant when we shall feel that in order to destroy England once and for all, we must occupy Egypt. Finally got permission from the Directory after agreeing that the mission would pay for itself. He sent his best men, I mean looters, to Austria, Switzerland, and northern Italy, and robbed them blind for the second time in 3 years, this time of 14 million francs in order to pay for his expedition in Egypt. One of his generals literally had the bottom of his carriage collapse under the weight of the stolen gold that he had. But he sets sail and expects the British to stay out of his way. After all, they're supposed to be at the English Channel, something that he dreamed about crossing for 2 years. However, Admiral Nelson, one of the greatest in British history, he decided to follow Napoleon to Egypt across the Mediterranean. While Admiral Nelson tries to stop him in the Mediterranean, he's never able to. And Napoleon is able to set foot among some of the greats, including the Sphinx. However, Admiral Nelson will catch up with that French fleet, and he will destroy it in the harbors while it's there. The Egyptian campaign is a fascinating one. Napoleon actually gains the support of Muslims quickly, which helps the conquering of Egypt immensely. There's even fatwa signed by Muslim clerics that he is a friend of Islam. How does he do this? Well, number one, he goes to the island of Malta and destroys one of the last Crusader Knight organizations, the Knights of St. John. He also spreads propaganda about how much the Pope hates him, which is true. France used to be under the thumb of the Catholic Church. However, as we look, the French Revolution overthrew all of those ideas, and the Catholics were looking to get back in. And the Pope personally hated Napoleon after he began conquering northern Italy and stealing all of their works of art. Napoleon attacked in the summer. We can probably agree it's pretty stupid and the worst time for an invasion. In fact, one of his Achilles' heels was that Napoleon never learned to take into account the weather or the seasons in his planning. However, he is victorious in Egypt. His camel army is able to cross throughout all summer, and they finally get to the definitive battle, a battle that becomes known in propaganda as the Battle of the Pyramids. It wasn't much of a battle. While Egypt is a proud civilization, they did not have the advanced military technique that Napoleon had, and the battle lasts for only 2 hours. In it, 29 Frenchmen die versus 10,000 Egyptian Mamelukes. Even better, from the side of Napoleon, the Mamelukes retreat to destroy 6 treasure ships so that Napoleon can't have them. But Napoleon's mobility is such that he gets to the treasure ships faster, and he sets up as the viceroy of Egypt. Here he does a bunch of scientific expeditions, setting up observatories and trying to figure out the ancient Egyptian culture. This showed that Napoleon didn't just want to be known as a conqueror, but he wanted to be known as one of the great men of history for his intelligence. The biggest accomplishment during this time for the observation is that they find the Rosetta Stone, which means thus far throughout all of the history that we've studied, while Egypt was discovered, they knew the pyramids, they saw hieroglyphics, and they knew the Egyptian people, they still were not able to translate hieroglyphics until this point in history, the 1800s. But it's not all glory. In 1799, Napoleon had his own Richard the Lionheart moment in the Middle East. Frustrated with a setback that threatens his plans to head to India, he decides to slaughter 3,000 defenders that had been given French word that they would be spared if they surrendered peacefully. The total executed ended up at 4,400 as they threw in other prisoners as they figured why not slaughter more if they were already doing this. Now this is a clear war crime. Wanting to save bullets since the ships had been destroyed by the British and there were no reinforcements coming, men were ordered to bayonet the prisoners or drown them. This event wisely turned Islam against Napoleon and opened their eyes to a huge threat. And in their mind, Allah sent punishment. A week later, the Black Plague hit Napoleon's troops. Now, Napoleon, who was very much a believer in superstition as well as luck, saw this as a sign that they had made a mistake. However, it didn't deter him. This famous painting by Gross shows Napoleon visiting his sick troops who have the plague, one of the most contagious diseases throughout all of world history. Yet Napoleon doesn't even cover his mouth. The idea here is Napoleon set up this propaganda idea that he truly was invincible, that he truly was special, that like Alexander the Great, he would be able to conquer the known world. And so he looked back at that moment that Admiral Nelson destroyed his fleet, and he decided to spin it in his favor. He started telling the men about how Alexander the Great and Hernan Cortez, the conqueror of the Aztecs, destroyed their fleet of ships purposefully when they landed on their campaigns. They did this to show the men that there was absolutely no way back. It was either win or die. He uses this to go on and conquer parts of Turkey, Israel, and Syria, following the curve of the Mediterranean Sea to the east, all the way up to Damascus, that final city that you see in the north. And he's successful in virtually every single battle. However, he didn't establish enough of a presence and a history in Egypt to be able to travel out this far, this fast. And as revolts were happening in Cairo, he had to abandon India in order to return to reestablish rule in Egypt. It's at this point, when he returns back to Cairo, that he hears some interesting news. It turns out that things in France are going really poorly, and the Directory's popularity is at an all-time low. Napoleon begins to think to himself that there might be an opportunity for him to politically come in and replace the Directory. Instead of taking his army with him, which would have drawn the attention of the British and led to battles, Napoleon leaves by himself with only a few of his trusted advisors. The general put in charge put it this way to his men: Napoleon's left us with his breeches full of crap. We'll go back to Europe and rub it in his face. Which they pretty much did. They got safe passage from the British, left Egypt, and within just a few days the British set about conquering Egypt for a second time, so that the French would not have a foothold in this part of the world, jeopardizing their control over their crown jewel,